Morning, Roslyn.
Hello, Nicolene.
Nice seeing you.
Nice seeing you too.
Now we're both in Cape, huh?
Yes, we are. This is the right place to be.
Yeah, I tell you, huh? No, it's fantastic. I'll catch up with you. And
Will
then,
do.
yeah, fantastic. Dr. Malema, also, it's the first time I'm meeting you actually online. So, I just see you're a very, very busy person. But thank you also for joining us this morning and congratulations on all those achievements. It's fantastic.
Morning, Prof.
Mhm.
Thank you. I
No,
mean,
it's
we look
wonderful.
up to colleagues like you. We're just following in your footsteps also.
Oh no, we're trying. You put your own mark on. Okay. No, but well done. And then also Dr. Georgina, thank you also for joining us. It's wonderful. We've got some wonderful speakers here this morning. I'm really excited. Okay, so let's wait for those to join us and then we get started. Yeah, we're just giving 2 more minutes for participants to join us and then we will start off. Right, good morning, everyone. We will still give some time for others to join us, but a warm welcome to our webinar this morning, Flourish and Finish, and how, like we're going to help you to get some energy. and balance and resilience to thrive in your studies. So most of you will know me by now. I'm Nicolene Skitta. I'm the Director of Special Projects within the DVC Research and Innovation Office. And I'm really, really excited about this morning. We've got wonderful speakers lined up who's going to share some wisdom with you. Now, why yet another webinar? So many of you reached out to me and said, you know what, we need a bit of help and we need a bit of motivation. So it's a second part of this year. And I think things are really going very quickly at this point in time. And in the end of the day, you know, like whether you are doing your PhD, whether you are doing your postdoc, we all are still human and human beings. So yes, arguably most of our time currently goes, you know, like into our studies. And but still, you know, like how do we get that balance? How do we get that energy back? You know, like for the last stretch of this year. So we were thinking, what better way, you know, like just to give you a bit of an appetizer, and you know, like just to get you running again, and then also to see you where we can support you. So really, this morning is about you, and also, you know, like how we can look at the whole student experience, and also help you, you know, to cross that finish line. So this morning we've got four wonderful speakers, and I will introduce them as we are, you know, like moving along with. We're really very excited. We handpicked them, and I want to thank them in advance for making themselves available. And you might also ask me the question, I, Prof, why are, you know, like, when are we going to see one another face to face again? I promise you that will also happen. We actually had you know, like a walk arranged for you, but then the Cape Townian weather didn't want to play along with. So those of you, you know, like who are in Cape Town this morning, I think it's most of you, it is freezing cold. So we also need to look at that well-being side of you, that you don't get flus. That is the last thing that you need now. So with any other, you know, like without any, you know, like holding your up or so on, we're going to jump right into the program this morning. So our first speaker is Miss Nicole Keeler, and I just had a conversation with her. And she is in the process of completing her thesis, and we're very excited for her. So thank you for joining us this morning, Nicole. I always say when I introduce people, it feels to me that I'm doing them an injustice. So please also Google them, because there's so much more to say about them. But Nicole is currently, she's a pharmacist. I'm a researcher and an educator based here in Cape Town. And she leads the Master of Clinical Pharmacy program at our School of Pharmacy at UWC. And you can also see the important focus area of a PhD, and also, you know, like advancing the pharmacy curriculum in education. She's also, you know, like holds a University of Missouri South African Education Program grant, and I want to congratulate Nicole on that, because it's quite competitive. And it's not everyone who receives that grant. So that says a lot about the quality of work that Nicole is doing. She's the vice chair of the global committee of the I hope I pronounce it right. Pharmacogenomics. How do I? This is a very long word. It's almost like phenomenology. Global Research Network, that is also a great accomplishment, and a member of the clinical we'll try genome, what? Okay, help me, Nicole, with that word.
It's pharmacogenomics.
I'm trying. Okay, I'm getting there. Implementation Consortium. And then you will see she also organizes a lot of winter schools and stakeholder engagement. So she's quite out there advocating for her, you know, like unique area of expertise. So we are very proud of your achievements, Nicole, and we really want to thank you also for sharing your thoughts this morning, because you're also in the same boat as many of our students. So how it's going to work this morning? So we're going to give the presenters around 15 minutes or so to talk to you, and then directly after that, you know, like you can also, you know, like ask them some questions. You're also welcome to post some questions in the chat. Should you wish to do so, but without any further ado, I'm handing over to Nicole, and thank you so much. We're really looking forward to your presentation.
Sorry about that. I pressed the wrong button. Okay, good morning, everyone. I'm very excited to share a bit about my PhD journey with you today. I just quickly want to share my screen. Sorry about this. Why is it? Let me just try again. So weird.
Don't worry, Nicole. We can blame it on this weather this morning. It's really cold.
I think my laptop is tired. I just want to close that. Okay, let's try again. Oh, let's try.
Nicole, you can also send it to Mel, like in the if he doesn't want to open, and then she can
Yeah.
just go through it as you are presenting.
Okay. Okay, let's see.
Like something
It
is
should.
happening.
Okay. So, okay. This one.
Okay, we can see.
Okay, you can see, but can you see the full screen?
Not you can put it in presentation mode.
Yeah, I'm trying to do that now. Okay, there we go. Is it working?
Perfect.
Okay, perfect. Okay. So I first want to say I love this title. I think this is so um, relevant. We really want to flourish in our PhD, but we also want to finish. You get to a stage where you just feel like you want to kind of get it done because it's something that is, it's like a baby that you grow. And they say once you actually submit it, it's quite something to get used to because you're working on this so long, and now it's kind of not there anymore. But there is life after a PhD. So my title that I was given is what your pharmacist wants you to know. But like Prof said, I'm also in the same boat. I'm also a part-time PhD candidate. So today I want to share a bit about my research journey with the aim to inspire you. When we talk about pharmacy, we always have non-pharmacological recommendations, which is not related to medicine, and then pharmacological recommendations. So what is all the recommendations related to medicine? And this is to make sure that we look at you holistically and that you are healthy because, like Prof said, you are a human being. So your PhD journey, it's deeply personal, and it's really something that will change you as you go along the way. And I want to share a bit about my story. In the field of pharmacogenomics, it's a very novel field, especially in South Africa. In Africa, although it has great potential, but at international level, it's actually very much established. So I've had the opportunity to share my experiences and some of my results, and used conferences as networking opportunities to tell people about my study and to kind of network and recruit them. I've shared this on international and local platforms as well as webinars. I've really embraced opportunities to become an expert, because that is what a PhD is also doing. It's building your expertise, and you have the opportunity to make the most of it as you go along. Um, through the University of Missouri South African Education Program, I was able to attend an international pharmacogenomics conference. And although it was very inspiring, it was also very intimidating to be in a room full of experts that is very knowledgeable. Um, I'm doing a PhD by publication. I realized actually later that it's really challenging because it's quite difficult if you're a young academic and you don't have funding. It really makes it challenging, but there are opportunities like through your supervisors or through, like, for example, the Next Generation Scholar Program, where there are opportunities to support um, publication fees and things like that. So by the end of the year, I hope to have published 5 articles. We have published 3. I have one that has now been accepted, and then I have another one that I want to publish. And it's been a long journey, but as I was working on my thesis over the last few weeks, it's kind of very rewarding to see how everything is coming together. Doing it by publication is also, it's quite demanding because you have to go through the review process, and I want to share a bit about that, getting feedback from reviewers. So I recently went through an experience like this. So the 2 reviewers gave comments, we've made edits, they've accepted it, and then there was a special chief editor, and he was just pulling the paper apart and giving all these comments. And I thought at the stage they're gonna, just withdraw it. But then actually at the end, he was very satisfied that it was published as is. So feedback is very important. You have to be open to that. There's a reason why people give feedback. We don't always see our own mistakes. It is important that you see this as a learning opportunity. While you're in it, you're not going to see it, but when you start reviewing other people's work, it's going to, there's just things that's going to really irritate you and you're going to pick up very quickly. Dr. Dina van den Berg is one of my mentors. She's on LinkedIn, very active. You can really follow her. She has great advice. And she shared a post earlier this week on LinkedIn where she said feedback is free education to excellence. Seek it with sincerity and receive it with grace. So I just want you to, if you struggle with feedback, just have an open mindset when you get feedback. And I think it's important that we stay humble when we are getting feedback, because this is a learning opportunity and it's going to help you to pay it forward one day with your students that you are supervising. So, based on this, getting all this feedback in a thesis that's being overwhelmed and bringing in the pharmacist component again a bit, sometimes during this journey, there's going to be days that you just don't want to write and you just want to give up. And is this worthwhile? And I mean, I've been through all those emotions, and I, I was never an emotional eater, and suddenly I just was a bit of an emotional eater. And it's very important that you do not lose yourself. Well, I've lost myself and found myself, but it's important that if you feel you lose yourself, that you find yourself again. Sometimes we want to hand ourselves over to things, and I've put here a few things here. Alcohol is maybe one thing. And I'm saying this with sensitivity. There's nothing wrong with celebrations. There's always a bottle of champagne in the fridge because if we hear something is published, then we celebrate it. And I'm all for that, but it's all about, when things is too much, it is not good for your health. So alcohol has, if you abuse it, has detrimental impact on your life, on your health. If you abuse it, it can lead to liver problems. It can lead to certain cancers. So it is important to have a balanced lifestyle in terms of that. It can also, make you drowsy and make you not feel well and lead to accidents and things like that. So just using it responsibly. It also has interactions with some medications, so especially if you're taking chronic medicines, that can also have an influence on that. I think most of us love chocolates, and that's all good. We have to have a sweet treat now and then. It is, again, when it is too much, it can spike your blood glucose. And when you use too much and you eat unhealthy, and your body can really struggle to regulate your glucose. It can lead to things like diabetes, but when you're using it using it too much. Dark chocolate is a more healthier option. So when I make my healthy snacks, I like to throw in some dark chocolate. And I also recently found out it has a bit of iron, maybe. So dark chocolate is a healthy option for you. And then some people really cannot live without coffee. Um, and that can sometimes be a problem. Sometimes people struggle with coffee in terms of it has a lot of caffeine in. So in overdose and having too much, some people are quite sensitive. It can lead to arrhythmias, palpitations. Your heart is you can feel like your heart is maybe pumping um, at an increased rate. Some people it can lead to gut problems. I really struggled with gut problems and I had to stop drinking coffee. I don't have any cravings for it anymore, but that has really changed my life. So if you need to survive on coffee, maybe try reducing your number of cups of coffee and maybe save that for having a coffee date with someone or some time out that you need to have while you're writing your PhD or working on that. And then another thing about coffee, it can also lead to dehydration, which can lead to constipation as well. So let's talk a bit more about healthier habits. And hydration is very important. I know it's very difficult in the cold weather that we're finding ourselves in, but it is important for your body. Your body needs water. Your body is almost 70% water. And if you do not have enough water, it can lead to things like constipation. It can also lead to irritability and things like that. So I have made a habit to drink at least a glass of water in the morning when I get up before I do anything else. And you can add some mint or lemon, or even now when it's so cold, you can maybe even use some boiled water and let it cool down a bit before you are using that. Nuts are quite healthy snacks. It has a lot of it sometimes have like fiber in and some if you sometimes nuts can be quite salty, so if you have blood sugar blood if you have hypertension or your blood pressure is high, you have to maybe eat unsalted nuts, and that is a healthier option. And then just talking about some other healthier habits is making sure that you eat a healthy diet. Sometimes we get so busy and we are grabbing like fast foods and things like that, but is quite processed, has a lot of preservatives in, not unhealthy, sometimes hormones, and a lot of fats, like unhealthy fats, which can also be unhealthy to you as a person. So it's important that you eat, clean protein, poultry, chicken, fish. If you are vegetarian, maybe think of alternative options, but just make sure that you also eat enough, because if you don't eat enough, your body's going to struggle and you're not going to feel well. It is also important that you eat enough fruits and vegetables. So it's quite important to note potatoes and French fries are not vegetables. My husband thinks it is vegetables, but I'm still working on that. And then we can eat some healthy fats. So some olive oil, you can throw that in the food that you're making. And then like avocado is also some healthy fats that you can eat. It is important, other things to help you kind of work through this journey and make progress. One of my mentors and coaches always says that your PhD needs to live in your diary. So you need to have space in your diary. Now with Google Calendar, you can have focus time. I'm not sure if you create an event, you can have focus time. So I love using that for my PhD and putting time in my calendar out. I think we're all different. I like to have block periods, like at least a few days that I can focus on it. But you have to work around what is working for you. And if it's there, make sure that you prioritize it. And when you are working on it, close your emails, because otherwise there's just going to be too many distractions. It is important that you get enough sleep as well. Sometimes I know because our minds are so busy, we really struggle to fall asleep, and I'll talk about that a bit later. But in terms of things that you can do that can help you, don't use screen time at least an hour before you go to bed. So that's scrolling on your phone, maybe read a book or play some music to put you in a sleeping mode. Make sure that you, if possible, use your room only for sleeping and not working. Um, and the other thing is to, also don't drink coffee too late in the evening, especially if you struggle with that. I know some people can just drink coffee and go to bed, but some people really struggle. So if you struggle with the caffeine and it keeps you awake, you can consider like not drinking maybe coffee after 2 or 3 o'clock in the afternoon. And then it is important that we stay active. So walking, running, going to the gym, dancing, whatever makes you feel happy. Um, I have a fitness trampoline, so I bounce. That is, I always say that's the thing that keeps me sane. And the lady that presents it is always said like movement is medicine. So it is important that we move, especially during the cold months. I know it's difficult, but you will feel better after you've had some fresh air and some workout. Because when you exercise, your body also releases endorphins that makes you feel happy. And then I know today it's not a great day in terms of sunshine, but it is important that you get outside, get some vitamin D, because if we don't get enough vitamin D, that can also make us feel tired and not well, and maybe even lead to depression. So when you can, spend some time outside. So your PhD journey is also for you to become an expert. So for me, in the field of pharmacogenomics, I joined the Pharmacogenomics Global Research Network group. That's how I got involved. It's really amazing to be part of a community, especially if it is a novel field and you do not have a lot of colleagues working in that area. And now I'm part of like a vice chair of the global committee. There's also the CEPIC, which is an international organization. You had to actually work to get to show that you're working in the field. So my one of my supervisors helped me. We first had to write a paper, and then I was accepted into the group. So sometimes it's a journey, and these are voluntary things, but it is so rewarding to learn from these people. Then your PhD journey, it can be challenging because you don't always see that you're making progress. So one of my coaches shared with me how she has a bowl with pom-poms, and every pom-pom is an hour. And I'm like, I don't have pom-poms, I only have like paper clips. So one paper clip for me was an hour. And that is how I could see I'm making progress. So it is really rewarding to your brain as well. So think about what can you do to show that you are actually making progress in this journey. Then you have to celebrate your milestones. This is not something that I always did. My grandma did for me, but now that she's not here, I have to do it myself. And you have to celebrate yourself because not everyone is going to do that. So after I completed my data collection for my PhD, I went to buy myself Lindt ice cream. I love ice cream. So I just embrace it and celebrate for yourself. So, writing retreat. So, the best gift that anyone can give a PhD student, I think, is time. Time is really so golden and so precious. And I got this in writing retreats, making progress, because it's very difficult if you're doing a PhD part time and you are working, having a full time job. So, this was during my first writing retreat. I'm very pale because we walked into the room, and Prof. Franz, who was leading the next generation program, said the editors are lined up. If you walk out of this writing retreat, you need to have a publication. And I thought I was going to work on my scoping review, and didn't even have a split second to think. I just had to change my mind and get into a mood of writing an article. And she reviewed my papers and or my draft manuscript and said, "You can write too." And I was like, "Are you going to send both to the editors?" And she said, "Yes." I'm like, "Okay, let's do this." So I have now incorporated writing retreats into my PhD journey. I've had with my colleague, with my husband, with other friends, and I've shared some things on LinkedIn that you can go and read to help you, because you need to be prepared. You need to be in a mindset. I need to know, okay, next week I'm going to do this. And you have to make sure that your diary is clean and everything. So um, that is just some tips that you can go and read. And then on my last slide, I just want to share a bit about pharmacological um, recommendations, medicines that maybe help you or that you should be aware of. And although I'm a pharmacist, I like to think of how can we keep and stay healthy with natural things, because there's no medicine without side effects, and there is a place for that. But I think sometimes we want to fix ourselves too quickly with tablets and things like that. So you might have used this or know friends that use this. Ritalin or methylphenidate is a central nervous stimulant. It helps people it's more for people that struggles with ADHD, that really struggle to concentrate. It works well for them. But when you overuse it, remember this is a stimulant, so it's stimulating everything in your body. Your body is going like in overdrive. So it can lead to cardiotoxicity when you use it too much. It really alerts you. Everything is working harder. Because it works in your central nervous system in your brain, it can lead to like maybe to delusions. You might struggle to sleep because it's keeping you so awake, and then can lead to exhaustion. Um, so be careful with these things. The other thing, it can also decrease your appetite. So especially when we use it in children that needs it, we tell them, take it after food because otherwise it will suppress your appetite and you can lose a lot of weight. Then zolpidem is like it's a sleeping tablet, as an example. And these sleeping tablets, although they sometimes can work for a short period of time, some of them are they are scheduled. So all of these are scheduled. You need a prescription. But some of these have like they can lead to tolerance. So it means your body is building up tolerance. You need higher doses to respond to it. And it can also lead to dependence. So your body is kind of needed to go to sleep or needed to cope. And they so that has it, and if you don't use it, it can lead to like withdrawal. So you can have symptoms that because your body is not coping anymore. And these can sometimes also make you feel very drowsy the next day if you do not take it at the right time. And it can maybe even make you feel like you have a hangover. So ideally, if you struggle to sleep, there is something like melatonin. Melatonin, this is a slow release tablet. Your body also makes melatonin, especially when it goes dark. It helps you to sleep. So melatonin is a kind of more of a natural option that you can use if you really need something. It makes you it gives you good quality sleep. So I have used it before. But there has also been times where I've used it and I couldn't sleep because my brain is just so busy. So it is also important that if you work, that you stop working and that you do something different before you go to bed, just so that your mind can calm down. Because even when you're sleeping, your mind is processing a lot of information. One thing about melatonin is that you have to take it at least to an hour to 2 hours before you go to sleep, because it's slow release, so it takes a while to start working. But that is something that if you really need something, you can consider that. There might be a lot of other options and I'm happy to take any questions or you can email me. But these are kind of the things that first came to my mind that we typically use during difficult times. So you can follow me on LinkedIn or you can send me an email. If you have any questions, I'm happy to take them. I hope that this has inspired you, and that I just wish you all the best with your journey ahead.
Thank you so much, Nicole, for a very informative session. Wow, I mean, I wish I knew these things when I was a student. And the one thing that I'm struggling with 21 years after getting my PhD is I'm still an emotional eater. So I need to do something about that. Thank you. It was really wonderful. People, let's give Nicole a virtual hand. Thank you so, so much. It was really wonderful. Do you have any questions for Nicole? Any questions? So I think we learned so much, and one thing also, Nicole, that's wonderful is also, like the guidelines in terms of, like you're structuring your career, like as a PhD, like the networking, like, and also not confining yourself, like just to the South African space, even though there's a need, like for your area here, but also like that collaboration, that's wonderful. And that's also something that's really inspiring for the rest of our students. Any questions? I see there's something that's in the chat. Okay, I don't see anything. Don't you have any questions for Nicole? I think you were so good, like you gave them such great information, like that there's nothing more. But I think, like people, what's important, Nicole did give her, like contact details. So please reach out to her. And I really think there's some really great, like guidelines, like and also advice, like from a person also still doing a PhD and who I'm quite certain will also continue to do a postdoc. So, with that being, anything from your side, Nicole?
Yes, I see. There's
Oh,
a
there's
few
the chat.
questions in the Q&A.
Let's see.
I think people have to, yeah, some said chat is not active. So the one said, how do you deal with procrastination? So I think that's a good question. I think sometimes we really struggle with that. There's actually another word. There's something like procrastination, and there's something else that you prioritize other things because you don't want to get to, what you actually want to. For me, I think it was challenging because I didn't really have time to procrastinate. You just have to sit down and do it. So I think it's about the other thing I wanted to mention, it's about consistency. So there's going to be times that my one supervisor told me, you're going to have these pockets of writing time. So there's going to be weeks that I know I'm not going to write, and that's okay. But I think you know your schedule best, and you have to decide what is going to work. And maybe you can think about, okay, if I make this progress, I'm going to plan something nice afterwards. I'm going to go somewhere nice, or I'm going to reward myself with the weekend away or not working. So that would be kind of that's my recommendation. And
Well,
then there's a
sorry,
question.
interrupt,
Yes.
Nicole. Sorry, I see Magnific. You said you raised your hand. I saw here in the Q and A. You want to ask a question? I see Magnific. Um, okay. While we're waiting, okay, Nicole. Yeah, I see there's some others also. Do you have any advice for publishing?
Yeah, so that is challenging. I think it's a process. Your first one is not going to be perfect. I think in terms of the writing, I think it's, the more papers you read, the natural it will become. I think it's just about starting to sit down, identify a journal. There is a link. I just need to go and find it. I can maybe share it with Melanie, and then she can share it with the group. So once you have like your title, it can recommend possible journals for you. I think what sometimes help is just with sometimes you have so much information, you have to your manuscript is going to be a small part of it. So you have to think about, maybe I can write two articles out of this, and maybe starting with your methodology, and then decide what is your scope before you go with your introduction and your results. So that's maybe one thing to think about.
I
Yeah.
see there's some other, Nicole. I think the one that I can see is there's quite a yeah, there's a question. I'm doing my PhD from Johannesburg, far from my supervisor and other students, and the journey feels lonely sometimes. How
Yeah.
does one navigate that situation?
Yeah, that is challenging. I think it is important to become part of a network, like a local or an international organization where you can still, see progress and still learn. So I would, or then have a group, even if it's PhD candidates, or for me, I'm also knowing, oh, my students are writing with me, that, they are master students, but at least I know we are all writing together. And maybe organizing, writing retreats for yourself. Or even if it's virtual, you can have another friend that's also writing. Um, and maybe having somebody to keep you accountable. Um, but then just like someone once told me, just hang in there. This is not the rest of your life. It's going to be like this, and you have to make it fun for yourself. Yeah.
Thank you. Nico, I'm just going to ask Magnific to ask the question, and then if you don't mind, so the rest of the questions, if you can just type an answer, or you can leave your details also, for them, because we need to move on to the next speaker. So yes, Magnific, are you ready for the question?
Yes, can you hear me now?
Yeah, perfect.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you, Nicole. That was great presentation. I'm also like a health coach, so many of the things you were saying, I could relate to them. I have a question regarding alcohol. You mentioned that we should celebrate, but we shouldn't abuse. I understand that. But recently, I was following another presentation by Dr. Marike at MRC, which she said that we shouldn't even take even a small glass of alcohol in our bodies because alcohol is not healthy. I do not know what to say about that because it's somehow linked to cancer causing. Yeah.
Yes, so there's more and more research coming out, and it is actually it can lead to certain cancer, especially if you know if you have that in your family. But I also think, I sometimes think it's all about balance. So you have to have balance in terms of good habits, bad habits, living a healthier lifestyle. I think it's your decision. I think some people do not drink alcohol at all, and that's fine. It does have it can have toxic effect even in small, it can have or negative effects even in small amounts. But I think it's a personal decision. Yeah.
Hey, people, I think there are some questions, Nicole, if you don't mind. There are some real, important questions, and we don't want to miss all of that, people. So, I know that Nicole is also rushed for time. She's got another meeting, but if you can maybe just have a look at it. Alternatively, if you don't mind, you can also leave your details, within the Q&A. But from our side, Nicole, thank you so, so much. We really learned a lot this morning, myself also. And yes, so keep in touch, definitely, and I think also one thing that I also realized the support group is really important. And also that, because in the end of the day, you're all almost in the same boat, and how can we, also learn from one another, and just strengthen ourselves. So thank you so, so much. We really appreciate that. And we will definitely engage with you again in future. I think I also need to, huh? And like Nico, I mean, you know what? And we are sitting here this morning. Recess doesn't stop. It continues. It's life doesn't stop. It's just in different forms. So thanks so much again, Nicole. Right. We're going to move on to Dr. Malema. And I said, I've met Dr. Malema quite a lot, on email, but I haven't met him in person. And I can tell you if there's one researcher that is really busy, then that is Dr. Malema, and also I think that is because maybe you're in sports science, you keep on running, Dr. Malema. But thank you so much this morning also for joining us. And he's also really an example, of really rapidly progressing in his careers. So we're very proud of his accomplishments. And again, I said you can also go and Google Dr. Malema. I'm really going to try my best, to do him some justice with the introduction. But he's definitely a distinguished academic researcher and a leader in the field of sport, recreation, and exercise sciences. So he's going to keep you busy this morning. He's a senior lecturer, deputy head of department, and postgraduate coordinator at UWC. And you can see he's got his PhD in sport, recreation, and exercise science, an MA in recreational science from Northwest University, and a BSc in recreation and leisure studies from the University of Venda. So you can see his primary focus on leisure education, physical activity, leadership development, inclusive recreation. You can also see, and this is something really, worth mentioning, all the grants, that they get, and people getting these grants is really not easy. It's highly competitive. It's a lot of work that goes into that, and when you get grants like these, it's really, a testimony to the work and the contribution that you're making in the field. So you can also see his works is aligned with all the sustainable development goals. And yet again, it's also not that easy. As researchers, we are really channeled, towards doing that. He also serves as an associate editor for a Q1 journal, people. Now, Q1 is the highest level journal that you can publish in the academic field. And he co-chairs the World Leisure Organization Special Interest Group on leisure for youth and children. So, Dr. Malema, that's a mouthful from our side. You're a very busy person. We are really looking forward to your wisdom that you're going to share with us this morning. Thank you so much, and I'm handing over to you. And again, people, it seems the chat are not working, so you're welcome to post questions in the Q&A. Thank you.
Prof, thank you so much. I always find it weird, particularly during the introduction or when I'm being introduced. I feel like the imposter syndrome is just doesn't want to go away. But thank you so much for the welcome, and thanks for the opportunity to be invited to come and speak on this platform. And I think it's quite a prestigious and should be well celebrated for the milestone, first and foremost, irrespective of how far you are in your journey. But then just the registration into postgraduate, this should be a celebration enough. So, Prof, I'm going to be speaking on the theme of move to think, particularly physical well-being as a research productivity. But I think I'm gonna align it with the current ongoing project that I have, which focuses on the impact of wellness programs and extracurricular activities on students' academic success. And this is a project that I'm running with my colleague, Mr. Sibulelo Kaulayo. And it's currently ongoing, and you'll see the progress of the study as we go along. So I think firstly, we need to recognize the spaces where universities operate. We know that it serves as a social institution. With that meaning, there's a lot of skills, unintentional, indirect, and directly that one develops through the association with the university, because then there's an element of developing on the academic side, but then also on the social aspect and also on a more personal level, where as a student you get to benefit from that. But I think most importantly, I want to speak about the role of campus recreation. So with campus recreation, those that are not familiar with the definition, this is anything from your sport, your recreation, your physical activity, your gym activities, playing chess, anything that you do at your free time. It can be structured or not structured, but that time away where you're not focusing on your studies, where you're not doing your work, but then just having time, your yourself or your me time. Whatever activities that you do during those times, particularly within the campus context, this is now some of the activities that are offered in collaboration with sports admin. So from your gym, participating in a sporting codes or res leagues, whatever the case may be, this is where the center of focus is. And it plays a huge role, even though we might be aware or not aware, but it plays a huge role, particularly on all students that are affiliated with the institution, because from there, we make a lot of friends, we socialize, we even network during our off spaces, and there's a lot of things that are being developed during that time. But I think it's quite important for one to associate themselves, firstly, with understanding what is going on campus, what are the programs that are available, and where there is a need to also develop something from their self as well. So, on the two elements, we know that there's the academic environment, and this is where now universities, as part of their mandate as a social institution, they've got existing programs where they are designed intentionally to build academic skills, right? But then this does not come or should not come as a compromise to one's overall health. And I think part of the reasons why these platforms are here is because there's been a notable thing in literature where it's reported that students, they sacrifice their personal well-being to meet the demands of the rigorous academic um, institute. So what we're offering now, and some of the colleagues such as Dr. Shante Johannes and myself and others, we've got research that are on campus, and we're trying to advocate for using recreation as a catalyst to bridge the academic demands and also just as a time away for students, colleagues, and the nearby communities to ensure that they improve and enhance their mental health, they get motivated and committed to other responsibilities such as academics, but then social as well as personal as well. So when we speak about wellness now, these are activities that are designed to empower students so that they can manage their stress, build social ties, and have an active lifestyle in a sense that when you're having your off time, it's not only just about going to sleep, but then it's about how do you network or connect with others. One of the question earlier on was perceiving the PhD journey as an isolated journey. And, this is where the role of recreation and leisure comes into play because you're bridging that gap where you can connect with other peers, you can connect with other people and form your own community of practices. So the study that we have, it's been done in 3 phases. The first phase, in which is what the results I'll be speaking about, is from your qualitative and scoping review. But then the overall idea is that we want to develop a, a guideline in collaboration with the research unit, academic, DVC academic, as well as sports administration, so that we can have a balanced approach for students to be successful in their academics, but then also at the same time taking responsibilities for their wellness and being developed. Hopefully, the idea is that it will be one of the policy documents or at least a policy for point of reference as well. So just to share some insights from what's currently happening is that in the scoping review, we've learned that there is a need for student ownership in a sense that as a student, firstly, you need to recognize that your wellness is your responsibility and therefore you need to take ownership. But then most importantly, you need to put time aside and be intentional of taking care of you. Remember, for you to be productive, you need to be, in a state where you can replenish for the next day. It's no use of being burned out because your productivity will take a serious hit. So let's look after self, physical well-being, mental well-being to make sure that we are productive in the research space as well. So also the other element that we've learned is the vulnerability, particularly in the academic environment. We know that there's a lot of stress, burnout, anxiety, and as depression. So active or proactive wellness interventions, they are there to help mitigate the health risk associated with the demands of a academic environment. And maybe just to share some snippets on the qualitative data as well. As you can see, the themes from our study. And I just want to speak about a couple, maybe 2 sub-themes for the sake of time, and then we can engage on a personal level as well. But I just want to take you to what the definition of wellness is, particularly from the voices of students. And you can see, students recognize that this is something of a balance between your personal work and academic life. So I don't think all of us we've mastered this thing of personal time, work, and as well as academic. But then if we get to understand the entire holistic uh, part as a student to say what is wellness for you, then I think we will have a more way forward in terms of advancing our wellness and taking care of ourselves. But also another participant mentioned the fact that there is spirituality, physicality, emotional, and mental. So all of this, if those components from your wellness are taken care of, they've identified it as something that could lead towards them achieving their goals. I think as we've all been to that point where we're trying to do too much, and at one point we have to seek for help, particularly because we can't carry the whole burden by ourselves in terms of the personal demands, social demands, as well as the academic pressures, particularly when you are in your write-up stages of your thesis. And as seen by the one participant here mentioning that they don't have time to take care of themselves. So this is quite important, and I think it's very a big, for me at least, a big highlight to say we need to ensure that our bodies are taken care of. So participating in your sport, recreation, even just taking time out just to not doing anything, that on its own, it's productivity in its own right as well. So, what are some of the coping mechanisms? And I already spoke about the sports and recreation, but I think just to highlight some of the information from the data from the project itself, one participant highlighted that when they engage in sport, they feel good, they can, be motivated to succeed elsewhere. Just taking that time away, being part of a physical activity, a sport, such as jogging in the morning, to have that active mindset, the body becomes, open up, to possibilities of engaging in different sorts of demands. So those are quite important to ensure that your energy is renewed and you're not feeling fatigued throughout the entire day. So where are we? Currently, we're analyzing the quantitative data, and hopefully, because we've sampled from a whole range of students, including postgrad from masters and PhD, we're hoping that the information will be more meaningful. And then afterwards, subsequently, we will go ahead to develop the guidelines and frameworks, which would be something that will be helpful both to you and to the next coming generation of students. So I just thought to share those small snippets, and I hope it was useful. Prof, thank you so much.
Thanks a lot, Dr. Malema, and also let's give Dr. Malema a virtual hand. And I need to be honest with you, like when it comes to sports and exercise, I'm nowhere. Like being a student of life, that's also a wake-up call, for me as well. Okay, let's hear. Do we have any questions? I see there's a lot. Let's see in the Q&A. Are there any questions for Dr. Malema? Maybe I can ask Dr. Malema, is there anything this on you being also supervisor of PhD students, postdocs and so on, is there any concrete one-shot well-being advice that you would like to give them?
Prof, I think just from myself also, what I've learned, especially towards the write-up, the final write-ups, is that there comes a point where you just want to let it go. And I think instead of second doubting, just let it go. Remember, what we're writing makes sense to us. And I said this to my current student who just doesn't want to send me their proposal. And I said to them, look, it makes sense to you, but it doesn't help to hold on to the thesis or to the proposal. Let me read, give you my comments so that you can also improve on the draft. So I think there's a tendency where we want to perfect it first before we send it out to others. But I think maybe as a useful thing would be know when to send it out to your supervisor or to even a peer so that you can get fresh perspective on the document that you're working on.
Absolutely, and I cannot agree more with you and others of us sitting here, that's very good advice because I can also sometimes find myself analysis paralysis and perfectionism, and the perfectionist workaholic. Even, you don't find, and I think we sometimes are scared, of criticism. But we also need to be bold enough, and say, listen, we can learn and, we can take constructive criticism, but you will
Mm,
not know, and like I said, instead of just trying to do something, get some other advice also. Another question, I
mm.
see there are some questions here, Dr. Malema. So it seems sleep is a common theme, that also emerged, this morning. And also time. So the one question is that I work at the university full time, and for the last 3 months, working has been challenging. I'm worried about the time I have lost. Any advice, any thoughts on that?
I think the biggest advice that I've gotten, and I think it still works, is that um, better get started now. You won't recover the time lost, but definitely you can improve on the time remaining. I think even just writing a single paragraph, it builds up the momentum to get going. I think one of the other things, Prof, as you were saying earlier on, is that especially for those that are doing by publication, their studies by publication, it's something that we are still guilty of not wanting to send the manuscript out. And if I may share maybe something with the audience is that I recently had a manuscript that went to 6 rounds of review. And in as much as it may be discouraging, but every time it's coming back, I think I've even grown immune to the rejection from the editors, and I just keep improving and sending it back. And I think as far as there's comments, it means there is potential for the paper.
I think, thank you. That is excellent advice. And perseverance is really important. I think, and here we've got a challenge here that they've posed to all of us. Should there not be a sports day for masters, PhD, and postdoc? Maybe incentivize for attendance for self-exercise sports kit. Okay, we're taking note of it, huh? We're taking note of it. So as soon as the weather improves, I think that can be a very good thing. Why not? So some
You
healthy
know,
competition.
our students actually host an annual sports recreation day for all
Nice.
students. So I think maybe it's something to look out for. We don't have as amazing prizes because it's organized by students for students. So maybe that's something to get involved in.
So when is that usually, Dr. Malema?
Last year's one was around November. So I think now with the
Okay.
exams being deferred, kind of threw things in the spanner. So they're still planning
Okay.
for this year as soon as the second semester starts.
Okay. So what we'll do is okay, so we will take note of it. And then we will reach definitely out to Dr. Malema and see, like how we can how we can do something around that. That sounds very good to me. And I agree with this one. Amidst all of this, sleep doesn't seem to be ever enough anymore. There's been a lot of comments about sleep this morning. So yeah, your thoughts on this, Dr. Malema, before we release you?
I think for me, at least the 6 hours for me, I feel it's sufficient. But you can have like short stints of sleep. I find it the most rewarding. It's a power nap during the day, so it sets you up for late works if you're working late. But I think just ensuring overall that you do have enough time for rest.
Absolutely. Dr. Malema from our side, thank you so much. And also thank you for sharing. People, you see the evidence. That's why we are doing research. Thank you so much for sharing that information and also all your tips that you've given us. And now you see we got a challenge now. So we must now host, like the sports and recreation. So yes, and also thank you for the advice. I see some of our students, and that's also some of the reasons why we are doing the webinars. We've got students here in Durban, and so the person just started with a PhD journal and would love a writing retreat after the deadlines. I've just received from my supervisor. We honored. Fantastic. Dr. Malema, thank you so much. And we really appreciate your time and we are looking forward to engaging with you again in future. So let's give Dr. Malema a virtual hand and then we will release you.
Thank
Thank you
you,
so,
Prof.
so much. Right, people, we're moving on to our next speaker this morning. Will be imported from the business school of the University of Stellenbosch. And this is also a colleague of mine who I have a lot of respect for and is very, very passionate about students. So it's a wonderful honor for me this morning to welcome Professor Rosalind de Bruin. She's now an associate professor in leadership and organizational behavior at the Stellenbosch Business School. And I think Prof. Rosalind, you started this year, if I'm correct. So welcome to a very cold Cape town this morning.
Yes, I
She
am.
was a
Thanks.
Fantastic. She was previously served as an associate professor in the Department of Industrial Psychology and People Management at the University of Johannesburg. And like I said, she did a lot of work, like for teaching, for student supervision. She also developed apps, like to improve student learning and also student development. She taught a wide variety of modules, human resource management, organizational behavior, system thoughts and change, and also research methodologies. She can give you a lot of information about that. And I can also say that, so Prof, the Brains, a PhD, was the first in South Africa to focus on work identity, for which there was really still actually a scarcity of information. She's really the thought leader, in terms of that. And also working on job crafting, which there's also scarcity of research in South Africa. So her focus is really, on elevating knowledge, on those areas that matters to all of us in the everyday of work. She's also published extensively, and she's also done a lot of leadership development programs for leaders across the board, middle, senior, and executives. And I know many of you are also, working while you are studying. So I always say, you can really Google Professor De Bruin, introducing the people. It's not always doing them justice, but we are really honored this morning to have you here, and we are really looking forward to your wisdom that you will share for our students. Welcome, Prof. De Bruin.
Thank you so much, Prof. Nicolene, and to you and the UWC team for giving me this opportunity. Sorry, I'm leading from notes. Giving me this opportunity to address PhD and postdoc students on possible pitfalls that you must avoid in your research journey. So, what I have done is I have purposefully not put in a presentation and done a presentation, a PowerPoint presentation, because what I want you to do is I want you to take a piece of paper now and I want you to make notes and make notes for yourself on the different things that I will say, and make notes, obviously, if you want to pose questions, or maybe it will make you reflect on your research journey, to possibly pose questions to your supervisor or the various sections in the university that's providing support to you to really help you to flourish and finish ultimately your PhD, and for those postdoc um, fellows, for you to actually, complete your postdoc um, with resilience and energy, and to flourish in it for the next level to go to the next level in your academic career. So, with regards to me asking you to take notes, this ties in with the first pitfall that I want to talk about, and that is, and with all due respect, many students and many of us in general, we do not always listen well to what people are saying. The art of listening is a very powerful art, and it is something that needs to be loved out and articulated. Maybe articulated is not the best word, but loved out and performed in everything that we do, specifically also in your research journey. Now, what do I mean by this? And why is it important? And why is it possibly a pitfall? Sometimes students, when they get feedback, my experience is, and you get feedback in various forms. So you will get feedback, obviously, with the written comments or typed out comments from your supervisor on your different chapters and the work you're doing. The same thing with the postdocs. You will get feedback from the academic staff that is overseeing your work, but also from the various journals that you are submitting your good work to, submitting your articles to. So, but in terms of listening well and taking notes, when you get that feedback in whichever form it is, but specifically in the form where you are meeting with your supervisor, in terms of for the PhD students or the postdocs, when you're meeting with academic staff that's overseeing your work, Listen well to what they are saying and take notes. Physically take notes by hand. That's a natural way of taking notes. I know in today's world we can record voice notes. We can, when we have Teams meetings, we can record and go to the transcripts later. But what is important, what helps the brain is, and research has shown that when you use handwriting, now some of us maybe don't write that fast, but you kind of understand your handwriting. This is more for the purposes of you, of doing well in your research. But it's shown that it helps with memory formation and encoding new information. And it's beneficial for learning because, in as much as it's a research journey, it's a journey of learning. And it's a journey of learning. You developing expertise in a particular area, in whatever field you're doing research in. You developing expertise, but in developing expertise, you are learning in that process. So it helps to make notes, but it helps also to document physically what you are learning and what your feedback, what your supervisor, what feedback they are giving you. Let's think about it more practically. How many of you, and I want you to think about this, how many of you have time to sit in a meeting, get feedback from your supervisor, and then go back to the recordings, the Teams recording or the Zoom recording later on? In my opinion, very few of us. And then you still have to scroll down and listen to where did the person talk about this. So it's important, if you make notes, if you have questions, you can quickly go to your notes. Obviously, have it organized and structured to help you. This is just a suggestion, um, to help you to avoid the pitfalls of not listening attentively to what the feedback that your supervisor gives you and any other feedback you may get from others that you are working with. Always take notes by hand. This is my suggestion, and then also record it. But it helps with there's something that happens in the brain with when we write, when we think, when we look. Something happens, and it helps you to process further on what you need to do in terms of that particular portion or part of your research. Okay, then this leads me to the second pitfall. And we'll tie it up. Let's first go back to the first pitfall. So students do not always listen well. So because they do not listen well and they do not pay attention and take notes, they sometimes misinterpret the feedback that they get from their supervisors. The same thing can happen with postdocs and all of us. And because that happens, it can sometimes create problems in the research journey because your feedback that you get from your supervisor, if they're having a discussion with you, and I do not want you also another pitfall, tying into another pitfall. So write it down. The first pitfall is not listening well and not taking notes by hand at times. The second pitfall is, will tie it in, do not be intimidated by your supervisor. Respect your supervisor, respect authority. For postdocs, respect those academic staff. They so too must respect you as a postdoc and as a PhD student. That is very important. But do not be intimidated. Remember, everybody started from not knowing, and you grow in your expertise, whether it be research, you grow in your career. Nobody starts knowing everything. So always remember that it's about, um, do not feel intimidated. And why am I saying this? Because this leads to the next pitfall. Ask for help. Students do not ask for help when they are stuck, when they are struggling, when they do not understand the feedback, when they do not fully understand the methodology. Yes, you must take ownership as a PhD student, as a postdoc, to find things, to find out and to work things out for yourself. If you are stuck or things are but challenging or difficult, that's very important. But where you feel you are not making progress, to really understand methodology or the next steps ahead of what you're supposed to do, data analysis, you're not understanding certain things, meet with your supervisor, or you're not understanding their feedback. Meet with your supervisor. Do not be intimidated and scared to do that. I know many students, and I'm sure Prof. Nicolene can vouch for this as well. Some students will sit on their they experiencing challenges with the research, and they don't ask questions. They don't tell us. We can't smell as supervisors. We can't smell and see. Sometimes we can by if we give you feedback and we see how you've responded to the feedback in your work. Yes, that can give us a picture. But we do not want students to struggle unnecessarily. Be challenged, but if you find that the struggle is making you toss and turn and you can't focus and it's difficult to because some parts of your research journey is more difficult than others, and yes it is, one of it being sometimes students, the literature review is sometimes very challenging for students doing that. Sometimes data collection, getting just collecting data. Another one is data analysis, whether it be quantitative, qualitative. It's especially when you're using new instruments, it can be very, very, very challenging and difficult for students. So it's important in those moments. Sorry, I just flipped this thing because my phone is busy having it's busy dying here. It's in those moments that you need to ensure that you ask for help. Do not sit for weeks and months. It's not going to help you flourish. You're going to feel like you're wilting. And in the research journey, in as much as it's hard work and it's challenging, it has to be enjoyable. You have to enjoy what you are doing to a large extent. And remember, the pain is not for forever. One day you will walk across the stage. You would have achieved your thing. The same thing with a postdoc. The postdocs, you have a plan behind everything. What you want to achieve in however long you've been contracted to be a postdoc. 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years. Whatever it is, you have things to achieve. So make sure that when you are struggling with whatever aspect, whether it be payment, whether it be understanding advice or get clarity very quickly. It's a huge pitfall and it can cost you time, energy, unnecessary worry. And also, it can cost you money in the end if you have to, extend your studies. And then you still have to ask the university for permission because you are taking too long. But for number three, not planning and scheduling what you have to do. A PhD is no child's game. It is a lot of work. It is intensive. It can be painful, but it can also be wonderful. And if you have a plan, yes, life happens. Things can happen on a personal level, a work level, where you just cannot get to your the chapter that you were working on or whatever it is that you were working on your research journey. But plan, sit with your supervisor, and where you cannot maybe meet a deadline, maybe you're planning to send the second round of, based on the feedback that you got on your literature review or on your chapter 5, whatever, and you maybe you need to send it by Monday, but you just know that there's a lot of work and you've got maybe a child that's not well, if for those of you who have children, and you know you just cannot, there's no ways that you can actually get to submit it to your supervisor by Monday. Then you let your supervisor know as soon as you can. Do not send anything. It is disrespectful to your supervisor. Your supervisor also, remember, you're not the only student that they are supervising. Some supervisors are supervising many PhD students, many master students. They're involved with teaching. They cannot, when you contract with them to send something to you at a certain deadline, you have to meet that deadline in as much as you are able to. But where you cannot, negotiate, recontract, so that that relationship between your supervisor You've got to handle it very carefully. Your supervisor as well. Because if that relationship becomes one that is tenuous and difficult, it creates a lot of tension, and that makes your research journey and the supervisor supervising you, it makes it very difficult for them. So, in as much as you're able to do that, the next pitfall is regarding feedback. And I know it was mentioned early on. Nobody likes feedback. When your supervisor says this is not, redo this, redo that. The same thing with the postdocs. You're going to get feedback that you are not going to be happy with. All of us get feedback about research articles. But remember, it's not against you and your personhood. It's against, it's about your writing, to improve it, to enhance it. View it from the right lens. If you view it from the wrong lens, it will affect you. Yes, one does feel disappointed. I had a reject recently, and you feel disappointed. But you get over it. It's not the end of the world. But now, what you have to do is you have to pull yourself up and say, okay, I'm going to take the advice. I'm going to take the feedback. I'm going to rework it. And you find in that process, you are improving your skill set. You're improving your writing. You're improving your ability to think conceptually and to use the theory. And that's the reward. It's the best reward from any PhD or postdoc is the reward of attaining knowledge. Yes, number one. But above that is the reward of being able to think in ways that you've never thought. And that is powerful for the workplace, problem solving, complexity, etc., etc. So going back to the plan, always working without a plan is a problem. You have to have a plan. How am I going to get ahead? What am I going to do? What? Set deadlines. Many students, when they do their research proposals, they set up unrealistic deadlines because they do not know what it takes. That's fine. But contract with your supervisor. Be realistic. It takes long. Let me tell you, it takes long to write up a literature review. You cannot do it in 1 week. It takes very, very long to do data collection, whether it be collecting data from using qualitative interviews, or whether it be collecting. Can you all still see me? Hello?
Yes, we can see. Yeah.
Oh,
Prof.
that's great.
Wilson, yeah, no, we can see you and hear clearly. Thank you.
Okay, that's great. So collecting data, whether it be qualitative data, sitting with interviews, that takes very long. So do not underestimate the time it takes to go through the different phases of your research. It's a pitfall to think, oh, I can do this. I can knock this chapter out in a week. Yes, if all you do is do that and you've got nothing else. But it's unrealistic to, you got to put realistic, and you've got to also give your self time to go through it and to read through it and to give yourself time to rest. The pitfall things one of the pitfalls is, I believe I have all the time in the world. You may be allocated 3 to 4 years, sometimes 5 years to do your PhD. But note, that time goes very fast. And if you are not dedicated regularly, and the best is to work on it every day. Because if you work on a section now and you leave it for 2 weeks' time, you work on it again, you have to read through everything again to see how your mind was running with regards to that section. So that's a very but for plan well and negotiate and set up timelines with your supervisor, and also structure it around your personal life. We spoke about well-being in the other two speakers, but you have to also plan around your family. Sometimes students, which is a very good thing, they negotiate with their spouses and their children to say, mommy and daddy is going to be working on a PhD, and the postdocs as well, depending on where you're at and what you have to achieve. Um, going to be working on this for 2 years. That means we will maybe only go out once a month. We will not be able to go out every single weekend, but mommy and daddy is still there for you. But mommy and daddy will at times be, shut in the office. Just to work on it, and you negotiate so that your family knows where you're at. I remember when I did my PhD, my one friend said to me, if you if you study again, because I kept saying I can't meet, I can't meet, I can't meet. I didn't negotiate properly as I should with my family. And every time when we say, let's go out to eat, let's go somewhere, and I would say, no, I can't. I have to work on my doctorate. And my one friend said to me, if you're going to study again, I'm going to leave the country. So it's a stupid thing that she said, but at the same time, she was saying, I'm so tired of hearing that you are busy with us. So contract with your family. Another a pitfall is pace yourself and work consistently. The pitfall is you're not pacing yourself. You're not setting realistic deadlines and targets. And as a result, that can cause you stress. It can cause your supervisor stress. Remember, there's two parties. And then also, pace yourself also in terms of what the timelines that the university gives you. University also has certain timelines when your proposal must be done, when things have to be met, when you have to present, when you have to get ethical clearance. You cannot sometimes with some institutions get ethical clearance anytime. You have to apply at a certain time because that's when they meet. And there's certain forms. So comply with what the university is required of you. Comply with what your supervisors required of you. You will make your journey easier, and you will make the journey of your supervisor easier. Another important thing, pitfall, is silo thinking. I'm busy with chapter 1 now. I'm busy with chapter 2. I'm busy with chapter 3. Yes, you will be busy chapter by chapter, generally speaking. But always at the back of your head, have your entire research, um, all the chapters and what you're required to do in this research journey. What is the end product that you want to achieve? What do I want to achieve at the end? You want to answer your research objectives. So one of the pitfalls is that sometimes students, your research objectives need to be clear, and your supervisor will guide you and help you on this. Need to be clear, need to convey novel knowledge and make a contribution. It need to be so structured. But then every other activity, from your literature review, from your data collection, your data analysis, etc. The aim is to answer those research questions academically, scientifically, rigorously, and you've got to follow all the traditions that come with, whether it be quantitative or qualitative, so that you have a scientifically rigorous piece of work. You're not going to you're not writing a report for your company. Remove that out of your mind. Train yourself and say to yourself, I am a researcher at this point, and put that hat on. And with the postdocs as well, I'm a postdoc. And if your plan is to go into academia full time, you're a researcher and academic in training. And the postdoc is one step. So if you have that in mind, and when I also mean avoid silo thinking, is when you're busy with chapter 1, chapter 2, chapter 3, chapter 4, you have to see how they are related to one another. How different phases of your research journey are related to one another. If you don't do the data collection properly, you're going to have bad data. You're going to analyze the data. Will it answer your research questions properly? And overall, you also have to have it in the back of your mind what journals, and contract with your supervisor from the beginning when you've started your journey, and the variables that you're going to use, and get an idea of where do I want to pitch and submit this to a journal. The same thing with postdocs. Do not work that haphazard work. um, have a backup plan with postdocs. Maybe when you're collecting data, collect more than just the variables. If you can, include other variables as well. That helps, because then you have more data you can work with to publish. So do not undermine. One of the things is keep focused. And one of the pitfalls is not being prepared for the long haul. The stamina, the resilience, the energy that it takes to achieve this huge thing. Do not undermine that it's just a quick moving thing. It is not. It is hard. And its reason is hard because it's the highest degree that you can get globally. So what you need to do is make up your mind, do your best, do not cut corners by using AI. You will be caught out. You can use AI to work and formulate some ideas, but do not just use AI to take and write whatever that is a huge pitfall, and you will be caught out when you have to defend your research and you can't answer the questions because AI answered it for you. Then you do not deserve that PhD. And the same thing with the postdocs. You must be able to defend every single part of what you did in your research and how great it is if you have done it all by yourself. Yes, we use ChatGPT to help us, get ideas, and we can use other apps to AI apps that can help us fix grammar and things like that. But write it on your own. Make sense of it on your own. This is your work. You will be caught out if you don't know. People are going to expect this is another pitfall. Once you get your PhD and once you become a postdoc and you get into academia, more is expected of you as a professional. And if you do not deliver, you are a doctor. If you do not deliver in the workplace, in academia, if your route is academia, you do not deliver in terms of your work, and people put question marks on you, that's not good. Because they're going to expect more of you because you've got a PhD. They expect more of you because you have a postdoc and you're busy with a postdoc to get into academia full time. So this is all that I, have put together. Um, so I welcome any questions. I hope that what I have said will help students, help you in your research journey.
Sure, thanks a lot, Prof. De Bruin. I think we can really give you a big hand because you really speak from experience. And so Prof. Rossen has really supervised quite a large number, of students, and also understanding, I mean, the journey that you have to go through. And also what you reminded us, is that getting back also to things that might sound obvious to us, which is really not that obvious. And I think the one thing really, that also stand out to me is listen, listen, take notes and also don't be intimidated. Yes, don't challenge, be respectful, but also, you've got the identity of a PhD and the postdoc students, and also it comes with the territory. So it's very important. Do you have any questions for Professor De Bruin? Let me quickly see. I see there's a lot of very useful tips, Professor De Bruin. Anything else that you would like to ask? You really have now the opportunity to ask a person who has a lot of experience and wisdom with student supervision. Maybe while we're waiting for our audience to type in some questions, Prof, if you don't mind, if I can ask you a question because you touched on something that I was really thinking, that what is, and you've done a lot of sterling work, in the whole thing of work identity, and also your expertise on that. But what is the thing that our students need to realize? What is their identity? Now, and what does it mean really, to have, be a PhD student, to be a postdoc? If you can share some wisdom on that.
It's, I think for a PhD student, one in a sense of where because it's almost like you start with your PhD and then you're a PhD, many times say PhD candidate, and you're a PhD student. So there's an identity, there's a student PhD identity that comes with that. So that is for me, one of the things is you're someone in the space that is gonna do research and you're going to contribute to something new in the research space and the discipline. So that in itself is part of of the identity work that you are, that you are, that this professional identity comes with that. But then afterwards, once you're done with the PhD, what do you want that PhD to do for you, the title doctor? If you are in academia, then it's developing an academic identity, growing in the academic space. I remember Prof. Theo Felsman, he was one of our previous heads of department at the Department of Industrial Psychology and People Management at UJ. And he always used to say, a PhD gives you the ticket to, like a matriculant certificate gives you the ticket to study at university, but a PhD gives you the ticket and the right of passage to, to follow academic career. But for those of you who are doing a PhD for fulfillment, for growth purposes, there's when people, it's going to be tied to your professional identity that you're a doctor. You need to define what does that mean for you in whatever space you are operating. If you're an engineer, if you are a nurse, if you are a teacher, doing the PhD and getting the title doctor, how is that gonna, what do you aim to achieve with that? Because that's going to be eventually part of the way you name and understand yourself and your identity. It's going to influence that. In terms of the postdocs, my assumption always with postdocs, it's a stepping stone to get to in your academic career. So that is part and parcel of you developing your professional academic identity, that I'm a researcher. Take note of me. I am a postdoc student. I've got a PhD. I'm able to supervise students. I'm able to do research. You can trust me. And I'm developing my academic identity. I don't know if that answers the question,
Oh,
Prof. Nicolene.
perfect. No, no, brilliant. Thank you so much. So Prof. Rossen, I've got here a comment and then two questions. The one is, and I think that's quite all of them are important questions, but this one, I think as supervisors, like that also makes us think. So dear Prof. Rossen was anonymous attendee. I wish more supervisors were clear on negotiating with loved ones. And this is something that I misunderstood based on what my supervisor said, which was basically like your PhD comes first and you cannot be in serious relationships, can't entertain friends and family that require your time and attention, and can't marry or have children, which I felt was seriously inappropriate, as I think that support system is such a cardinal part of the PhD journey to comfort you and build you up and support you for the difficult parts. And I remember many, many moons ago, when we had workshops, like where they workshop with students, they tend to make jokes about you shouldn't change a job, don't become pregnant, and don't marry, things like that. But I think it's quite sensitive things. Your thoughts on that?
This, life happens. There's going to come a time in your life where you're not going to have that PhD anymore. So now you're doing away with your family and your friends. Oh, but your PhD does take a lot of your time. So you have to negotiate with those loved ones to give you some space to finish it. But I do not believe that you need to stop taking care of your family, stop doing things, don't get married, don't have children. I don't believe that is correct at all. Life doesn't stop. And if you have to, if things really happen, I had one student many years ago. She it was very taxing on her. She had a miscarriage. This was a master's student, very taxing. And she literally took a year off.
Yeah.
She took a year off. She came back. She did it.
Yeah.
So it's not ideal to take a year off, but if that's what it takes, that's what it takes.
I
Your
think,
PhD is not your life. Sorry, that's not your life. It's 4 years of your life, but you cannot shut everything off for those 4 years. You have to just make sure and manage your time, so that your family and your children still have you, and your husband and your wife still have you around. But negotiate, even if it means getting extra support, putting money aside to get extra support to see to their needs. Now I know that's not always feasible with students, but if you really want something and you take care of your family, you can do it. It's hard, but you can do it. Many have done it. I know of people that have done their master's degrees, their PhDs with, the baby, they're busy working and the baby's breastfeeding on the boob. So you know what? It's not ideal, but you can't stop life.
Yeah.
But also take care of, listen to all the well-being that has been spoken of. Take care of yourself. Don't, and when you don't meet a milestone, don't beat yourself over it. It's a PhD, it's 4 years. Don't hit yourself on the head. It's
Right.
not the end of the world, and just negotiate. And if things are really hectic on a personal front, then you maybe need to stop your studies. But that's the last end of the road. It's not ideal, but if that needs to happen, it happens. And that doesn't make you less of a PhD student than another.
No, thank you, Prof. I completely agree. And also to support what you're saying, we, for example, had students who lost spouses, like during COVID. We had students who were in accidents, who really got seriously sick, cancerous, and so on. In the end of the day, people, we're all human. And I think, and this is also, my message to you, welcoming, is that come speak up, speak to someone, we are there to support, to see, and there's a way to work around it. And like Prof. Roslyn said, and I want to echo that again, the very last resort is to stop your studies completely. This is something, that one wants to avoid. But I completely agree, life, how can I say, really happens, and there's always a way how we can work around that. I think there are some more questions, but in the respect of time, Prof. Roslyn, there's one, that I'm going to ask here is that, and it's a question to you from one of our audience. Do you ever face imposter syndrome, please, and or a feeling that you will not or cannot make it on the other side? If yes, how did you manage it?
That comes up a lot, and especially now that I've entered into the business school. It's a new territory. There's new people. You sometimes think, wow, the Stellenbosch Business School is a triple accredited business school. I'm just using that as an example. And sometimes you feel, oh, do I have what it takes to be a, oh, am I right? Is this, oh. But you know what? Calm down. You know what? I went through the channels. They found me worthy to be in the job. I'm not an imposter. I have what it takes. So you need to dumb that down and just say, I didn't just get here because I was handed it. I worked hard all the years to get to where I'm at. And when I gave my CV in, or when I started this PhD journey, whoever looked at it, they found that I am able to do it. It's the same thing with a new job. We have sometimes imposter syndrome. You know, I didn't just get here because they said, "Ini, mini, miny, mo, let's choose that one with that dough." Do you get what I'm saying? They chose me because I had the credentials.
Hmm.
I have what it takes. The same thing with you when it comes to a PhD. Be humble, always be humble, but know that you deserve where you're at. Unless you did funny things in the background to get there, that's another story. If you did unethical things. But if you have not, do away with that syndrome. You have what it takes to be where you're at. But deliver on it, work hard, um, because that also builds confidence, and then helps to break down that imposter syndrome.
Yes.
I don't know if that's good advice. I think it is, Prof. Nicolene.
Yes.
And we constantly have to work on that, because that thing comes
Mm.
up. It can even come up in your personal life as well. Am I a good mother? Am I a good friend? Am I whatever it is? When you get asked to be on committees and take leadership positions at a church or wherever it is, you start thinking, do I have really what it takes? Of course you do. And then
Absolutely.
enhance your abilities so that you build your
Yeah.
confidence and you keep enhancing your abilities to do better at what you are doing.
Prof, Deborah, thank you so much for being so open and honest, and speaking to us and the students. And you know what, and also to the students, it doesn't stop with a PhD or a postdoc, it carries on. But in the end of the day, is that who are you? And then also, in terms of, exactly who are you? What is your value systems? And I mean, you deserve your place, in this life, to live up to that. And again, people, life happens. This is not an easy journey. We've been through that, but there is support, to reach out, so keep on believing in yourself. That is the important thing. And you've got some wonderful advice here this morning, really from a seasoned professor who has supervised a lot of students. And so now you can also read the minds, of supervisors. And Prof. De Bruin, thank you so, so much. It was really wonderful having you here with us this afternoon. And really appreciate your inputs. And please be in touch. We will definitely, connect with you again in future. So, Prof, if you want to stay on, there are a little bit more questions. Should you want to answer that in the Q&A? There are some technical questions that I can also answer. But I see there's a lot, there's a lot of questions around balancing the balancing act, between your PhD, and your work life, and then also, interest in academia. But that being said, thank you so, so much, Prof. De Bruin, and we look forward to engaging with you again. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
Fantastic.
Thank
Fantastic.
you.
Okay, we're moving now to our last speaker, for this afternoon. Dr. Georgina Pondai. And again, people, we've got somebody golden here this afternoon. And again, it's very difficult to introduce a person. Like I said, you can really go and Google here. We're very fortunate to have somebody also from the outside today, who's got, and that is what we call academics, one leg in practice, one leg in academia, and very, very passionate about student supervision. So again, you can Google Dr. Georgina, but one thing is that Dr. Georgina, she's got a PhD, but she also did the postdoc. So she can speak from both those perspectives. She's got a PhD, which she obtained from the University of Johannesburg, and then she did a postdoc in gender studies at the University of Stellenbosch. She's got a wealth of experience in terms of implementing, auditing, and facilitating international standards in the food secure industry. So she worked a lot with ISO standards. She's been working, across Africa, also internationally. She's facilitated quite a large number of workshops, on leadership, but also importantly, focusing on diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging. And I don't know where she gets this time, but she's publishing also on gender studies. She gives a lot of talk to women, a lot of community work, challenging reflections and key strategies in moving towards transformative gender studies. And then, like I said, she's a guest lecturer and supervisor for master students and PhD students at Eton Business School. She's got a wealth of experience, in academia as well. With that being said, Dr. Georgina, we are very privileged to have you here this afternoon, and we are really looking forward to your wisdom that you're going to share to our students. The floor is yours. Thank you so much. I think, Dr. Georgina, you just muted. I think, can you
There
hear
we
me?
go.
Yeah,
I'm
perfect.
accepted. Thank you
Fantastic.
very much, Prof. Nicolene. Thank you, everyone. Thank you to my fellow panelists. The thing is, it feels like everything has already been said, but I'll try and say it differently. So yes, I am Dr. Georgina Pondai. I'm here to talk about the myth of the work matter. I'm going to share my story, not because I'm looking for sympathy, not because I want to gain more experience, but I'm sharing for collaboration. I'm sharing so that we know these things happen. PhD postdoc, it's not a bed of roses. So I'm going to storytell in terms of what I went through. So we often hear that in academia, everything is toxic. Toxic in the sense that we are forgotten. We forget about ourselves. The thing that we forget is that we cannot produce groundbreaking knowledge if we are mentally and physically depleted. Everyone has been talking about the research, the output, whatever we have to do. But I'm here to emphasize that we are human beings first. And then, after being a human being, we are researchers. So the theme Flourish and Finish frames well-being for me and actually for all of us as the fuel that drives your research forward rather than a distraction from it. Imagine a situation whereby you are depleted, you can't think, you submit the same chapter over and over and over because you are actually burnt out. So we need to call out the unspoken role of academia, that if you are not stressed, if you are sleeping, if you are having breaks, it means you are not working. That's far from it. This culture is actually romanticizing burnout. Burnout is not a measure of dedication. It's actually a system that's unsustainable. And it's leading to our physical and mental depletion. Again, I want to reiterate, we are human beings first before we are even researchers. Now, how about producing that groundbreaking, innovative knowledge when our well-being is a cognitive fuel? What do I mean by that? Our mental and physical health is not a reward. It doesn't come after research. It's actually the raw material. Like Prof. Nicolene said, I do a lot of work in the industry. We talk about raw materials. Raw materials will give us very good products. So for us as researchers as well, our mental and physical health, once they are that good quality raw material, we produce groundbreaking research. Let's look at what science tells us. Sleep isn't just downtime. During sleep, there's an active biological process where your brain starts to consolidate your memories, it solves complex problems, and that sparks creativity, which is something that you need in your research. What am I saying here? I'm saying when, as postdocs or PhDs, we take breaks and we rest, we become highly productive. It's actually a very good strategy to be productive. It prevents tunnel vision. It allows us to approach our research with sharp analytical minds. I want to share a story that happened to me, where you will actually pick up my theme of humans first, researchers second, as being very practical. And in my research, at the end of my research, I wrote a chapter on harsh choice matters. So this is what happened in my years of my PhD. I lost my source of income. As if that was not enough, I was involved in an accident. These things are taking place one after the other. Then my niece ruptured her liver during delivery. My husband got critically ill. Now I'm walking on crutches. I have all these issues. I have my PhD. So I approached my supervisors and I told them I can't. Life is happening. So this PhD can wait. They motivated me to carry on. And one of my supervisors will say to me, just carry on writing. Even if you write a sentence a day, just carry on writing. If you look at that picture that I'm sharing, my niece who ruptured a liver left a baby in one hospital whilst they transferred her to another. So the social workers came to me, are you fit to have a baby? And mentally, I was far from it. I was thinking, with all these things, it means I'll never complete my PhD. Anyway, long story short, I adopted the baby. I had people in ICU. But what I learned at the end of the day was that I could easily die. I could have died and left this research from stress. So I told myself, it's about me first. It's about my family without neglecting my PhD. We learn that our careers, they are not marathons, they are sprints. At times, we sacrifice the long-term health for short-term deadlines. So nobody wins. Even our research itself, it will not win. Anyway, what am I saying to the audience? I learned to have a strong mind. I learned to cultivate focus. I learned to bounce back. And there are three things that I would like to share with you that helped me. I developed some strong resilience. I kept a worry list because now my worries were growing by day. And then I practiced cognitive reasoning, cognitive feedback. Instead of saying I'm failing, instead of saying everything is going wrong, I started telling myself it will be okay. So, am I saying resilience is something that just grows? Am I saying you don't get upset? No, far from it. All I'm saying is in academia, we do have inevitable academic hurdles like rejected manuscripts. You heard my colleagues spoke about the rejections, failed experiments, like one of my fellow panelists who spoke about the pharmaceutical side. So in research, setbacks are actually a statistical certainty. They are not a personal flaw. They do not define us. What we need to do is to build resilience. It doesn't mean we won't be disappointed. What it means is we simply adapt to these roadblocks that we face. We bounce back with minimal emotional wear and tear. So don't run yourself down because a script has been rejected. Don't run yourself down because you can't write the next chapter. In actual fact, think about yourself first. So we need the power of cognitive reframing. We change the language we use when it comes to PhD and postdoc. We describe our setbacks. We use the positive language. It alters our psychological response. You know, Thomas Edison famously reframed his process. He treated every mistake as a crucial data point. The same applies. When our chapters are rejected, let's treat them as crucial points where we can improve. So instead of saying, I'm failing, instead of saying, I can't do this, let's shift our perspective and tell ourselves, this taught me what doesn't work, taught me what actually works. Right. So what else helped me? I started developing a worry list. So I called it my worry list strategy. So I looked at everything that was worrying me, including my research. I wrote everything down systematically. So I started crossing out things that were beyond my control, like the illnesses were beyond my control. The accident was beyond my control, and I started circling those things that could assist me to move forward. So I started moving around with a small book. Whilst I was waiting for the hospital visit, I will write something about my research. If a thought crossed my mind, I will write in my small book. Then every day I would give myself about 30 minutes or so. So this helped me to move forward. This helped me to sustain energy. And that was mentally. What about my body? Right. I started telling myself I needed time to sleep. I forced myself to sleep because those long hours we hunch on the laptop, they actually drain us emotionally and physically. So I started taking small little exercises with my leg that was broken in the tub, leg up, leg down, very small minimum exercises. They did help. I would walk in my garden to get fresh air, go in the sun for 5-10 minutes. I started getting the vitamin D injection to improve my mood and get some mental clarity. Right. So PhD, postdoc, from my experience, it's about staying focused. It's about working smarter, not depriving yourself of sleep, of exercise, and most importantly, your family. So what I would do is I would also block time. I would allocate fixed time for hospital visits. I would allocate time for sleep. Even if it meant 20 minutes sleep, I would allocate that 20 minutes sleep. So all I'm saying here is we must then look at our lives as individuals. We batch our tasks, not neglecting something, an area in our life because you are a postdoc or you are doing PhD. So I'll group my things together. Like cleaning the house, I would include it. Visiting my sick people, visiting my own doctor. It was a lot, but I did manage. So bringing it all together today, what am I saying? The core takeaway here is, as PhDs and postdocs, let's cultivate a strong mind. This isn't just a bulletproof thing or working harder. It's about creating sustainable relationships with your research, creating a sustainable relationship with your family, creating a network. You choose also to step back when you are feeling suffocated, take breaks, protect your mental space, and pause. When progress is not going as you planned, pause. See how you can sustain it. What is my final closing call to action? The most valuable instrument in your lab, your research, your family, everyone around you, your office or your library is you, the human at the center of this, of all of this. So my message is please take care of the human being behind the researcher. And I would like to thank you for listening to my story. I'm now opening the floor to any thoughts or questions you might have. Thank you.
Sure. Thank you so much, Dr. Georgina. What an inspiring story. I mean, going through all those hardships, life happens and yet you persevered. And and also, the one thing, that also really drew my attention, was that, sometimes we forget, to focus on ourselves, first, because we want to achieve the other things. But I mean, if the focus, of, how can I say it? Um, if you don't fix the foundation, then how do you move to the next? And I also like that thing of the worry list. I think this is really something that one can practically use, and reflect on, so this is really fantastic. And I also see there's a lot of, comments, also here, in terms of your presentation. Students, anything that you want to say, colleagues, anything from your side, some more questions, to Dr. Georgina. She's got a wealth of experience, and I mean, this is now a story of life. Life happens, and what do you do when these things happen to you? Any questions? I just see compliments, Dr. Eugenia. So you did it so well. I don't see.
What are the compliments saying, Doc?
Please go
Prof,
and say,
sorry.
very insightful. Thank you, Doc. Amazing resilience development. The presentation shared, insightful presentation. There's so many great things and so on. I think the one thing that also stood out for me is mentally, ne? How do you prepare yourself, also mentally? I want to ask a question for you because you are also you're also a supervisor. As much as you were on the other side of PhD and postdoc. As a supervisor, what advice would you give students, when things like that happen in their lives?
Again, I'm going to share something quickly. When things like that happen, it's best to share. If you have to cry, cry. Because what I'm learning is that students are going through a lot. Then they push something into AI, they send it to the supervisor. So it becomes a double-edged sword. The supervisor picks it up, they get frustrated, they return with all red, the student gets frustrated. So my advice would be share with the people you trust and deal with it. What's within your circle of control, deal with it. What's outside your circle of influence, maybe get help.
Okay, fantastic. Then another thing, we had quite a number of questions this morning, Dr. Georgina, and we didn't actually have time to tap into that. But also when I had to reflect, like on your presentation, is that with all the things going on in your life, and you're also, also working and everything, being consulted and so on, how do you, like achieve that optimal balance, like between your studies, and then also still having your other responsibilities that you need to do? This is a question that came out quite, like a lot this morning.
I must say, realistically speaking, it's hard. You sacrifice yourself, but you need to understand to what extent you are sacrificing yourself. Once you see that sacrifice affecting your health, then it's time to stop.
Okay. You see, health people is important, so it's
Yes,
always good to reflect, also and coming back to you again. And also
yes,
important, and also what the central theme this morning was, it doesn't make you a failure at all. I mean, at the end of the day, you're also just only human as well. And then, Dr.
yes.
Gina, I've got one last question here for you is that, and I think this is something that might also resonate to you, is that I was pursuing my PhD in my home country, and now I've relocated to Europe and doing a job that's not related to my PhD. Do I have to continue and complete even though I might not be in academia?
That's a profound question. I think one of our panelists sort of answered that question. In actual fact, Prof. Nicolene, you asked, what is your identity?
Mm.
So I think I'm answering a question with a question. So the question I would pose to the student or the person asking our delegates is, what is it that you want to take out of your PhD? So you don't necessarily pursue a PhD to be in academia. We have our passions. My passion is actually in industry. I pursued PhD to be in academia, but my passion pushed me back. Therefore, I ran a career, bridges of careers. I'm in academia, I'm in industry, I am everywhere. I'm a motivational speaker. So I run bridges of careers. Nothing stops us. I mean, if you can attain a PhD, surely you can multitask.
Yes. Absolutely. So people, there are some good advice, is that, and I think what's very important, sometimes many people have the misconception that the PhD is only for people who work in academia. It's not at all. It is what do you do with your PhD and how do you apply it also back, into industry and also your different walks, of life. Where you are working. So I think the one thing that's important is that when you do a PhD, or even postdoc, it's something that you need to do something with. Okay, in your life. Otherwise, you're sacrificing a lot. You're sacrificing family life, your personal life, and so on. So you need to give a deep thought about that. Thank you so much, Dr. Georgina. We really appreciate your wisdom, and thank you so much for being honest and sharing your life story with us. I think there's a lot of people who can relate, to that also this morning, and I think your story really gives us, hope. That is really, important. So people, let's give Dr. Georgina, a huge applause. Really, and thank you so much for putting your heart and thought into this presentation. We will definitely invite you again in future. So from our side, people, we are concluding this webinar for this afternoon. I really, some of our speakers had to leave us. Dr. Gina still with us, but a heartfelt thank you to all our speakers today. You got really a great variety, of information that you can apply, like in your life. But this is not only once off, so please reach out to us, and I think the central theme is there is support, speak up. If when you are struggling, you're not alone in this journey. With that being said, I also see in the Q&A, that there are some people from the same regions. So I saw somebody here, Oli Buching, who would like to connect with Anonymous from Johannesburg. So please, people, get support groups, because sometimes this can really be a lonely journey. So please do that also. What we will also do is we will share the presentation and the recording, of course, with you again. But we will also now, next, we will also see how we can get everyone together again, face to face, and, so that we can also have, some nice interactions with one another. And for those of you who are a bit far from us, we can also see, how we will be able to accommodate you. With that being said, I also want to thank Melanie Snyder. She is our marketing brilliance, and she was responsible for creating the beautiful invites and also arranging the logistics. Mel, that we don't take it for granted. Thank you, for the important role, that you are enabling us, also to do this. Thank you so much for that. And then also for those of you who attended, we do have the attendance registered and everything, so you will be getting your virtual badge. You don't have to worry about that. So yeah, and then we will be in contact, but also stay connected with us. And with that being said, people, please, be well. Keep your resilience, keep faith in yourself. Keep on believing in yourself, and the finishing line for your studies, PhDs and postdocs, that is coming. So don't give up. And also there is support at the university, and you will also see we've got access to some wonderful people that you can also reach out to. With that being said, I'm with the powers vested in me, I'm releasing you now. And yeah, I hope you will be warm in this freezingly cold Cape Town and in the rest of the world and the country, wherever you are. Please be safe and take good care of yourself. Thank you, everyone. And there you can see there are the QR codes, so please stay connected with us. Thank you very much and have a wonderful day, everyone. And thank you again, Dr. Georgina. It was wonderful having you here with us. Thanks, Mel.
Thank you, Prof. Nicolene. Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you,
Bye.
everyone. Take good care. I think Joburg, there's a big need for connection. Okay. Right. And then also I didn't acknowledge Tracy. Thank you also from the international office. Thank you also for participating. We appreciate your presence also here. Awesome. Thank you, people. Bye-bye. Thanks, Mel.
Thank you, Prof. It went well.
Yeah, well done. It was
Thank
wonderful.
you.
Fantastic.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.